Thursday, December 25th, Friday, December 26th, and on Thursday, January 1st. Other than those closures, the building will have its normal operating hours, which are Monday through Saturday, 8:30 to 4:30, and for our research room, Tuesday through Saturday at 8:30 to 4:30. This is our final program of 2025, but programming for 2026 will begin very soon. On Monday, January 5th, we'll have our first research rundown of the year. It's on how to use the research room. That's going to be an online-only event, and it'll be on noon again on January 5th. Of course, we'll also be continuing Food for Thought. That'll be both here in the Farley Auditorium and online. It's going to be on Thursday, January 15th. We'll have Catherine Beasley presenting The Proof is in the Dough, Rural Southern Women, Extension, and Making Money. Food for Thought 2025 is sponsored by the Friends of the Alabama Archives and made possible by a grant from the Alabama Humanities Alliance. On to today's program, our speaker is Lynn Oldshue. Lynn is a storyteller who believes that every story matters and has spent a decade capturing voices from across the South through her blog and books on our Southern Souls. She writes for Lagniappe, Mobile Bay Magazine, and reports for Alabama Public Radio, with her work earning both state and national recognition. As a field producer for the Alabama Weather Network, she highlights the people doing good across the state and the stories that bring us together. We're also selling her most recent volume of Our Southern Souls just outside in the lobby if you want to pick up a copy right after the presentation. Please join me in welcoming Lynn Oldshue.
So I'm Lynn Oldshue, and I'm sorry about the restaurant closing down. I heard y'all talking about your favorite place. Y'all just had lunch there. It's how long had that restaurant been open?
I think 30 years.
30 years. And so it's closing, and you feel like you're losing part of the community. Yeah, that's yeah. So sorry about that. What was the name of it?
Shashi's.
Is that his last name? Shashi's? Where is that from? Where is he from?
Mulberry Street.
Mulberry Street. But what kind of food is it?
A bakery and a meat and grease.
Gotcha. So
He goes to the curb market and gets real fresh vegetables, which nobody does anymore.
okay, this is making it more painful.
So it's the end of an era.
The end of an era. Yeah. So yeah, it stinks losing those places, and yeah. So it's. I was just like, I heard y'all talking about. I was wondering. I'm okay. Can y'all hear me? What the story is, and all the behind that. So, well, I'm Lynn Oldshue, and I'm a storyteller. I grew up in Yazoo City, Mississippi. My dad was a catfish farmer. My family owned the newspapers in Mississippi. So I probably should have gone into journalism from day one, but ran away from it until I was like 45. And then finally decided, hey, it's time to do this. I have one of my wonderful kids right here, Jake, and was a mom for a while, and then decided, let's figure out what all this looks like. And I took Rick Bragg's magazine writing class, and kind of changed my life, and started jumping into it. Nobody would hire me. I didn't have any experience or anything like that. So I had to start creating my own experience and my own figuring it all out. So I started covering music, and at that time in Mobile, Alabama, it's a great place to do it. But I come from this very white world. I went to a private school in Mississippi. So that was a very white world. And I interviewed this Black photographer, Vincent Lawson, and it was conversations I'd never had before. And I realized, oh, I may have some of this wrong. And then he did these photographs of homeless in Mobile. And I live in Fairhope, two very different worlds. But he did a photograph of a homeless man leaning against a building in downtown Mobile, and he had a fork in his hand, and he was starving to death. Like, oh my gosh, that changed me. And then how many stories, how many things are going on in this world that I don't know about? So we did this project and started riding on the buses. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna get this right. Okay, there we go. So we started riding the buses in Mobile. And this is one of them. It looks like a roll-in billboard for personal injury lawyers. And you don't see the people who are inside. It's not I mean, you miss the whole thing. So we started riding the buses together. And the first time I got on, like, I'm this reddish haired, 6 foot tall Amazon of a woman. They're going to kick me out. It's going to be rejection. And immediately I would sit by them and they would tell me their stories. They were going to dialysis and to chemo. There was one woman, she had the apron on and the visor. She was riding that bus for an hour and a half to go fry chicken and then come back and take care of her kids. That's how she was paying the rent and keeping their lives together. She was riding that bus for 3 hours a day. There were others that were going and donating bone marrow and stuff just to keep the lights on. It's like this whole world of people that I didn't know, but they wanted to tell their stories and it's like telling their lives matter. And so after I finished that, it's like nothing else felt right. It went so deep. And I realized there's so many things I needed to unlearn and learn. And my husband gave me the book, Humans of New York. Are y'all familiar with that? Where Brandon Stanton goes around New York City. It's brilliant. He's amazing. And so Our Southern Souls is completely stolen from that. And so I started doing it. So it's 10 years ago last week. So been doing it, started like as soon as he gave me the book. And I've done 2,222 interviews. It's got 2 books, but it's life-changing to go. I learned that this is the only perspective I have. I only know world from going up on a catfish farm, and I only know my perspective. But turns out, like in this very room, 30 different perspectives. And so that's what this became, is just kind of this whole learning about other people. And there are a few things, I've done this a long time. So the few things I've learned, I know for sure from doing this, is that I could sit next to every one of you for 15 minutes and like, how did you get out of bed today? I mean, there's everybody, like we all have something right now that we could be crying about. But then somehow we all keep going. I've learned childhood sexual abuse is a lot more common than we think, and a lot of people are carrying that with them. I've learned that addiction, if it's not you, it's somebody very close to you who's been in addiction, and that we're not great at talking about it or finding solutions to it. But the other side of that is the people who are in recovery, how they go around and change the world and make it a lot better place. So I love recovery stories. And then number 3 is that we have all had a death, or we lost a relationship or somebody so close to us that we've never recovered. So all of us have that inside us, but we cover it up so well. And, but it's all there. And so it's learning to kind of approach each other with grace and mercy and understanding that what I see on the outside may not be what's going on the inside. And then also, we all want to talk. Like, I'm this stranger dropping in out of the blue, and usually I just walk up to strangers and we start talking and they start telling me the story of their life. And always at the end is like, how did you know I needed to talk to you that day? Or, man, that felt good. And it just goes to show how many of us are not heard, we're not seen. Nobody puts, wherever my phone is, I've left it, puts the phone down and gives you complete contact. And like, when I'm with you, it's complete presence, and you're the only thing that matters. And how many of us don't ever get that? So that's why the whole thing works. And it changes me, every single one of them. I've been doing it for 10 years. And like, I've left my kids on the side of the road more than once. I've run off to go talk to somebody or drug them along or told them stories. And like, every story is the best story ever. And it's still that way. It's still this amazing experience. But the whole thing is, and we'll go through some of the stories, I don't go like to the great person store or anything and go find these people. They're all around us. You will bump in today. Pay attention to the next person you see when you go to the checkout lane or the gas station. All those people have amazing stories around you. They just don't get a chance to tell them. So, y'all ready? Okay. Hey, Susan. All right. Okay. So this is Dwight and Deborah. And I interviewed them. They were the probably first week of Souls. My parents were at Mayo. We were dealing with hard stuff with my mom and like the early stages of dementia. And so I was driving back to Fairhope, and like the little voice said, take this road. And like, I didn't realize the little voice, but I said, okay. And So I don't know about like every time, like always look away. If there's somebody with a cardboard sign, always look the other way. Don't make eye contact. Don't, but I pulled over and something about them. We started talking and they were telling me about, they were in Florida. They were trying to get home to Tennessee. This was 10 years ago. They would still be walking if they were trying to get to Tennessee. They wouldn't be there by this Christmas, the way they were going. So I'm going to read you a little bit of what they described what their life had been like, because they've been out there a couple of days. And they were sleeping on porches. Like the night before, they slept on a porch and they were getting bit by fire ants and just, but he said, getting a ride isn't as easy as you would think. People read the sign and drive by. Some shake their heads at us. Some pull over, then take off when we get to the car. I was hit with diapers as a car drove by. People throwing out candy wrappers and chip bags at us. One man said, "Do you want this money?" and tore it up in front of us. Other people have been kind. They gave us rides and bought us food. She has diabetes and walking's hard on her. I made sure she eats first. I've already bought her 3 pairs of shoes at the Dollar General stores because I have to take care of her and her feet. We've been walking for hours this morning and we're praying for a ride when you pulled up. I tell their story before every Christmas because things like this change my life. And also, this is the one rule now of our Southern Souls. I called my husband. I told him about him. It's like, I've got to get them somewhere. So I took him to the bus stop in Pensacola, and he was monitored us. We all made a deal, like, I'm not going to kill you if you don't kill me. And we got along fine, and I got to hear their whole story. But, like, I can't pick up hitchhikers anymore. That's my one rule. So, but we got him to the bus stop and got him to Tennessee, and, like, trying to get home for Christmas is above my desk. So, yeah. So usually this is just walking up there at the Fairhope Pier. There are places that are great spots to interview people. Fairhope Pier is one of them. I love public spaces because people are out there relaxed. They're all out there for a reason. I could write a book of all the people I've met at the Fairhope Pier, people from the Congo, people from around the world. People are dealing with a brother who just committed suicide, just getting a cancer diagnosis, just getting married. There's so much life out there in these public spaces. But this is a fun one. He said, so they had just met on a dating app and they've been talking for 2 weeks. And she had just gotten there. They've been together for 12 hours seeing each other. And he said, we're old people and don't have time to waste. My kids and friends think I'm a little crazy, but they're 100% supportive. They see a change in me they like. My kids have never seen me with a man. They said, we're happy together. We have only have so much time left on this earth. And we have to give it a shot. We're going to fool around and eat, sit on the porch and swing, drink wine and fool around. I was like, well, you said fool around twice. And she's like, he's got plans. And he said, we've paid our dues and we can be happy and do what we want to do. I mean, that's just fun, in life and joy. And who knows if they were together 12 hours later. I never know. Like, I wish I knew what happened. Like, in my head, like they stayed together happily ever after and still drinking wine. We do okay? Can y'all hear? Am I going? I get all excited. I can feel myself talking fast. So where we live in Fairhope, there's lots of farms around. And I had for 2 years watched these guys picking potatoes. And it took a while to get my nerve. Like, there's no way I'm walking across this barrier to go talk to them. I was so fascinated. I wanted to know their stories. And they get so, I'm going to cry, look at them. And so there's something about too, like I've learned, like rejecting, we were talking about this on the way up of how do you do it? And it's like, in our heads, I think sometimes we reject somebody else before they can reject us. Like, I'm not going to approach you and talk to you because you're going to reject me. So I'm just going to reject you first. And we don't have this conversation. But almost all the time, like if you approach somebody with warmth and compassion, like I am on your team from the minute I approach you. I love you. And so I think it's that, and then it goes from there. I've done this in Morocco now, in Cuba, drug you around doing some of those around the world, and it's the same thing. So finally got up my nerve to go approach these guys. Like, this is like right across from our pasture. And they were hustling, and well, I was reading this, yeah. So they're from Mexico. They're 3 miles from the border, and they pick in Mississippi, Florida, and Louisiana. Potatoes, oranges, and blueberries. There were 43 of them in this crew. They load them up in school buses, and they go around to the different farms. So I interviewed the one who could speak English. And he said, we pick by hand, put the potatoes in a bucket, and load them in the truck. We've picked over 3,000 potatoes from this field, about 70 acres. We make 40 cents a bucket, and each person picks about 240 buckets a day. Our backs hurt, and we're tired at the end of the day. He said, I've done this for 3 years. Sometimes it's worth it. Sometimes it didn't. And they were hustling. And then like a couple of years later, they had more of this automatic truck. So it's evolved. But just look at their faces. I mean, that's the humanity of it. Like, there's so many stories, I mean, this and that. And like, the news is crazy. Everything's crazy. But on the ground, it's this. These are people hustling just to feed their families. And, yeah. And they were so happy. And like, we ended up making, we went and took them popsicles one day when they were out there. So yeah. She was at, this is the Daphne Pier. And this joys of life. So her husband had died in 2015. She went back to school. She worked at Build-A-Bear. And she was like, okay, God, give me a sign that I should go back to school. And then Build-A-Bear gave her a scholarship. And so that's how she went back to school. And the fruit roll-ups, or because she was addicted to fruit roll-ups, and that's how she got through it. She said, like, there was one, how many did she say she ate one night? She said, I went through a box of 48 of them one night while studying for my anatomy final. I asked for fruit roll-ups for Christmas that year. So, but her husband died, and she wants to help substance abuse children, but her husband died of complications from diabetes. So that tattoo up there is his last heartbeat. And like, nurses and I think that was his last heartbeat on his own. And like, nurses look at that and say, that's not a great heartbeat. But like, but all of them, like, her 2 sons are getting, they're going to get the tattoo. So that tattoo, I mean, I think about that tattoo of like that last heartbeat. But that's resilience right there. I mean, that's all around us. And yeah, so just how people kind of pick themselves up and keep going. All right. So these two were in Mobile. And this guy, the one in the wheelchair, was a pastor who had just had a stroke. And so he's kind of getting around in a wheelchair and on a cane. And they met at the rescue mission because this guy was in the program there. And so after he got out of the hospital, they took him to the mission because the pastor didn't have anywhere else to go. So the guy in the yellow, this is what he says. I was strung out and messed up and ended up at the Metro jail. They sent me to the mission and I went through the program and graduated. I'm waiting for the court to tell me I'm clear. I'm clean. I've been clean for 17 months and I gave my life to the Lord and pray about the people God gives me dreams about. Before 17 months ago, you would never hear God or Jesus out of my mouth. We're going to have a ministry together. And this guy was talking about how good he's been to him and taking care of him. I mean, that's everything, right? Of how we take care of each other. And, I'm sure he's helped him through recovery and he's helping him. And so that's it for me. That's where the hope is. That's where the good is. There's still a lot of people. Again, I want to know what happened to them. So this is a Cuban family. They're out on the pier at Fairhope. And we've been to Cuba a couple of times. My kid's first concert was the Rolling Stones in Cuba. That was 2016 when things were going a lot better for them than they are now. And I've done souls there 3 times. So it was cool to meet a Cuban family in Fairhope. And she come over with her husband in a raft in 1994. And she said he was a musician and came here traveling and said, we've got to go. He made a raft and we left. We were in the raft for 21 hours and the Coast Guard picked us up. We went to Guantanamo Bay for a year for immigration processing. It was a nightmare. We were married for almost 13 years and got divorced and back together. And I asked God for a child. It didn't fix the marriage, but she was a gift. So again, like, I love this of how many times, like, after here, like if I ran into these people at Walmart or Publix, I would never guess their stories, which I love that we'll do this for a million times and I could never guess your story and what you've been through. And I think we feel like we're probably pretty good at judging people. We put them in a box and think worth my time or not worth my time. But we're all really terrible about guessing other people and what they've been through. And so I love, like, I never would have thought they came over on a raft and, survival and just how beautiful they are. So this is Red, and his dad had this hot dog stand. He had a business, had his whole other life. But after his dad retired, his dad had started this hot dog stand. And his newest dad was dying, so he helped his dad with his hot dog stand at the end to spend time with them. But his dad was in this little community close to us, loved to help people out once they had gone through things. He would use his hot dog stand to help them. So we had just had Hurricane Sally. It was really bad in my area. And so this gas station lost a lot, but it was so amazing. It became the community center for our neighborhood, our area. And people would come feed. So he came and sat up and would feed hot dogs there. And I've done a lot of stories after hurricanes and fires and tornadoes and all that, and how the worst of times bring out the best of people. And I don't know why we can't do that all the time and make things better, but he does. He does all the time. But he said, we didn't realize the scope of this hurricane until we came here a couple of days ago. Rob emptied out the store at his Shell gas station and gave out food and hugs. We knew we had to come here and help. When you're taking care of people and they're breaking down, say they never thought they would ask for food, it gets to you, especially older people. We'll keep coming back to feed and help them. I mean, it was amazing watching this whole, people just kept showing up to feed and help and bring in supplies. Red. So this is one of my personal lessons. I grew up in Mississippi. I'm a Mississippi State fan, and Ole Miss, we don't like Ole Miss at all. I know Alabama, Auburn people cannot relate to this, but we're just as crazy. And so somebody sent me, this is Katie Hill. He played football at Ole Miss. And somebody sent me, said, hey, I've got this great friend. You should do his story. It's like, he was Ole Miss. But then I thought, you know what? This is going to be so big of me. And I broke my arm, patting myself on the back for I'll go interview somebody from Ole Miss. Well, KD had, he played football there. Big deal at Ole Miss, but he was going to train to try out for the Jets, and he had a car wreck and should have killed him, but amputated his leg. And so I went and learned an important lesson that if I love a person and understand and why he loves that place, I can't hate the place, which it's my Katie Hill. Dang it, don't take away my hatred of Ole Miss. But it's true. If you know them or somebody and you know their story, it really does break down hatred. It's I'm still not going to say hotty toddy, but it's Katie Hill lesson. But I love his story about his mom. My mom helped me through the storms of life. I had a spinal cord injury in high school, and doctors told me I would never play football again. Mom drove me to another doctor in Texas, and he did a CAT scan and told me I could play football. But his mom didn't miss a practice. She was like his tackling dummy. She would tell him, he practiced tackling on her. And it's like, and he's like, I can't do it. She's like, tackle me. And so she would take him and she would clean and like all late at night and do all these things just to make sure he stayed in school and went. And he said he picked Ole Miss because it felt like family to him. I was like, well, that's why I picked Mississippi State, because it felt like family to me. So I can get that, and I can, but he's going on now and inspiring people and doing a lot of motivation speaking, but it's my Katie Hill lesson. Stories break down hatred. So this one is, okay, that may be, all right. I mean, I have a story. So he was sitting at the pier at Fairhope, and we were talking about, he mowed grass, but he had just lost his mama, and he was her caregiver, and he was just brokenhearted that she had just passed. And she'd had Alzheimer's, and he was caring for her. And it was about the same time that I'd found out that we just got a caregiver for my mom. And there was something about sitting with a stranger that day. And like, I never would have looked at him and thought, hey, we've got this in common. Also, he's got an Alabama sweatshirt on. But we sat there and talked about our mamas and how much we love them and how hard it is to lose them and to watch their memory slip away. And there's something powerful about that connection of a stranger and what you have in common and how you can help each other heal or help each other through painful times. And every single time, there's always these lessons that we can be learning all around us. So, okay. This one's probably the hardest one I've ever done. This is Rodney and Letitia. She's a corrections officer at the Mobile Metro Jail. They lost their daughter to a drive-by shooting. Great kid. They are great parents. And my son, my oldest was 16. Their daughter was 16 at the same time. It devastated me hearing about all the things, like how well they had raised their daughter. And just because we live in two different places, what they worried about, like I never would have worried about mine. That her daughter, they were just going to take a friend to dinner that night. They picked somebody up from the projects. Their car looked like a car that somebody else had a beef with. They shot into the side of the car, and they were just bad timing. And it devastated me. Like, those are thoughts I've never had to have. But these amazing two humans, they worried about that all the time, of what could happen to their kids. So this is what it was like. She was like, had the lab, they were supposed to go shopping that day, and they just go shopping. And she said, Rodney and I were in bed watching TV, and my phone vibrated. I didn't know who it was. Someone sent me a message with a screenshot from one of Raven's friend's Facebook pages that said, does anyone have Raven Hamilton's mama's phone number? She's been shot. I jumped out of the bed, put on clothes, and couldn't say anything. I called Raven's phone, and a friend answered and said they were women's and children's. When we got to the hospital, it felt like 1 million people were there. I walked in and heard them working on her. The curtain was closed, but I could see her shoe and sock going up and down as they did chest compressions. I could hear the machines and them saying they needed to work on her heart. I lost my balance and hit the floor. The nurse told me I had to be strong because they were doing the best they could. I started praying, and Rodney asked me if I thought she was going to be okay. I told him, I don't know. It's up to God. We prayed, Father, let your will be done. All of a sudden, the bells and whistles stopped. I didn't hear the heart monitor, and I told Rodney she was gone. I knew my baby was gone. And she says my child didn't deserve this. Everything about that devastates me, but it also puts a personal story on things that we become numb to in the news. How many times did we hear about some kid getting shot? This is the other side of it. This is the importance of stories to me, is because it has to hit you in the heart and show what in real life real people are going through. Ken Burns always talks about how, I love Ken Burns, I'm obsessing over him, but arguments, nobody listens to an argument. It's stories that change your hearts and change your minds. And that's what it does. I mean, it happens to me every day. But how do you not want to change things when knowing parents are going through stuff like that? So anyway, I sat in my car and cried a long time after that one because my kid was the same age. Let's see. All right. This is one of my favorites too. This is out of the Fairhope Pier, and these Muslim women were talking at the picnic table, and it took me probably 30 minutes to get up my nerve to just approach them. And we were talking about this today. The minute I did, they pulled up a chair, poured tea, and we got to talking. And we had this conversation about what you wish American women knew about Muslim women. And it was so good. And like, I wish I could have these conversations. And it was neat watching after I posted their story, American women would post a question and they would jump in and answer. And like, that's what I love about the Irish Southern Souls world. I know I can throw hard things at people and things that make you think, and I don't have to have a fire extinguisher because people are pretty good about, I mean, if you're there, you're wanting to understand other people. But this is what they said. It would say, we wear the hijab because we want to, not because we're forced to. We wear it to please God, not to please men. When people see us wearing this, they think we're oppressed. American women see the scarves and feel sorry for us. I can feel it. This is part of our religion, and we understand why we have to do it. Some choose not to. And this is one of my favorites. I said, when I watch a series like Little House on the Prairie, I see similarities between a Muslim community and how America used to be. Modesty, respecting older people, and being conservative, how to spend money and how everything has value. If you let go little by little, then you lose your values. And they said, it's not easy to live in a place and be different. We have to always adjust and show we're a good person. When we see people doing bad things in America, we don't apply that to everyone. We wish others would give us the same. There was a shooting in a Jewish synagogue. We were sad that it happened and so scared that it was a Muslim. So that's it, of being able to have these conversations. And there's so much to learn, and there's so much, I mean, I'm in the media and do news and stuff. I mean, there's so many messages coming at you, like all around us. There's ways to find answers and have understanding. And I think one of them invited me to one of her engagement parties, but I couldn't go. I was like, that would have been amazing. And then this guy, he was sit in the park. He used to hike. He's done the Appalachian Trail a couple of times. He's done the Grand Canyon, like hiking was his thing. And then like he got older and couldn't do it, which I love now talking to older people, just kind of about life and what kind of learning, like what's next. But also, and this is the fun part, he said, I'm an atomic bomb survivor. There aren't many of us left. I was in the Marine Corps in 1952. They were doing nuclear tests in Nevada, and they pulled 2 people out of each company, and I was sent out there. I was young and dumb and always looking for new experiences. The test was an exact replica of Hiroshima, scheduled to detonate at 1,500 feet. We were the closest troops had ever been, 3 miles away at ground zero. We were in foxholes. I don't remember the noise, but there was a tremendous heat and light. When we walked over to ground zero, the desert and sand had been fused into glass, and we were walking on glass. I mean, that's the fun part. Like, there's always history or something in it. And history plays so much more into conversations now, thanks to my history major. Like, learning history, like, is a quick way to find common ground with people, too. Of, like, if you understand where they're coming from, like, it's easier to ask questions. And, yeah. But you never look at him and think, hey, he was there for the first atomic bomb dropped in Nevada. Y'all okay? We're still good? All right, we're getting close. Because my kid is a history major, and like from a young time, I was trying to figure out how to relate this to him. And so we started interviewing World War II veterans. And I think that became one of the most important things we've done with Souls, is getting to tell these stories and share them and save them one more time. And a lot of times be the last time people tell their stories. But it's really neat to be able to collect those and hear them. And so, yeah. Oh. So this one is Albert Wingfield, and his son had asked me to interview him. And like he started this restaurant, and Saucy Q barbecue restaurant in Mobile. And we talked about that. And I was born in 1970 and really did not know much about the Vietnam War. I think I thought we had won it. And I know. But in my defense, we didn't talk much about it. So we're talking about the restaurant, and then he starts talking to me about being at Vietnam. And like, we had interviewed all these World War II veterans, so I'm pretty good on that. And then he started talking to me about Vietnam. And this is life-changing for me hearing this from him, and kind of started another path about Vietnam. He said, I learned when rounds come in sounding like bees, they sound like bees when they're close by. He said, I saw so many men killed right next to me that I felt guilty for being alive. Why him and not me? I quit making friends because you knew the next moment he could be gone. It's still hard for me to get close to people. And he told about his sergeant had just been killed, and like that whole experience, and like talking to me so graphically about going through being shot there. Anytime I was out, like having pain in his chest and like vision in one of his eyes, and still fighting the government for rights. And like he was exposed to Agent Orange, but learned so much from him and about Vietnam. And so that's the point, like the lessons of history and stories. And then like he just retired and sold his restaurant, and then his sweet wife just passed away. But yeah, it's just, you can't guess what they've been through. And so yeah. And then, so this is a good history story, and then we're done. This is the last one. So this is Addison. So in Mobile, we had the French came in, and they started settling it. It's a bunch of French men, and they realized, a bunch of men on their own need women to kind of domesticize them, kind of pull the rowdiness out a little bit. So they brought they call them Pelican girls or cassette girls. And they brought these girls from an orphanage in France over to marry these French dudes. And so they came in, and so I think there were 23, I forget the numbers. So they came over, and these are basically the first women in Mobile. And they married, have kids, and kind of settle. But the story kind of disappeared for a while. And then and during COVID, the Dauphin Island, they had this, they call it Massacre Island, and they kind of had this renegade Mardi Gras parade and brought in all these traditions from Dauphin Island, which was amazing. And the Pelican Girls became part of that. And so they started bringing the history back, and every one of the women representing a Pelican Girl, they know the story of the person they're representing, because they all represent people down to the one who died from malaria in Havana. There's one that's kind of deathly, and she knows her story. So they all know their stories. And so people are starting to figure out they were descendants of them. So a tour guide, they started telling the story so much and realized nobody knew about it. She pressed to have this marker done. And so this was just 2 weeks ago we did this marker. And like one of the first history markers for women in Mobile. And so it was a big deal. But this little cute Addison, who does look like an American Girl doll, she realized, she went through her mom's stuff and found a picture and said descendant. She started asking questions and realized she's a descendant of one of the Pelican Girls. So she's an Eagle. She's in a Scout. Her dad's a Scoutmaster. She's in Scouting. And so for her Eagle Scout project, she started got involved in Pelican Girls, and she's making a book about this. And she just gives me so much hope for the world. I just love this kid. She said, I joined Scouting because my father did. It sounded fun, and I wanted to try it. And it is fun. And when I got my Eagle Scout project, I thought it'd be cool to do something about my history. I want others to know about the Pelican Girls, and helping get this historic marker became part of my project. And then she's also writing a book about it. So we're helping her with her book. But yeah, so and she was like I think she's she was like the last on the 10-year day. But it's just all around stories, and it has completely changed my life, still changing my life. And there's something about getting to experience all these other perspectives. So, y'all got questions? Do you have a question?
Thank you so much for that. To our online audience, if you can put your questions in the chat, we can read them out. But for any questions in the audience, if you can just raise your hand and I'll bring you a microphone.
Yay, thank you, Susan.
Thanks for coming up.
Yes.
So my question is this, you've been doing this for 10 years.
Yes.
And it's, clearly had a huge impact on you, your family, and everyone who's had the pleasure of reading the book or hearing you talk.
Yeah.
Are you going to keep doing it for another 10 years, or are you planning to morph it into something else? Or do you know?
Oh, I mean, it'll always do it. I think no more books because it takes so much time, but yes, I mean, it helps me understand the world so much better, and it's just part of it. Tanisha, is that right? Is that her name? Tanisha that works here. I just met her in the bathroom before this, and she's telling me about her 97-year-old grandmother who lives here, who was part of the Selma bus rides. So yes, so absolutely. I mean, I'm going to go find her grandmother. So yeah. That's a good question. There's no more books. Yes, sir. Oh. Hey, and thank y'all for being here today. There is cold and rainy, and there's all kinds of other things y'all could be doing. So for the fact that y'all are here and shows that you care, I appreciate that.
So if you explained this earlier and I missed it, I apologize for asking it again, but you got a journalism background and you got into doing this, but what do you do with the stories, when it's not in a book? Where do you publish, and is it a profession at this point for you? Are you making a living off of it?
Oh no, there's $0. It's pure love. So there's a blog, it's a Facebook, and a website, and even I cannot make I'm not making money off of people's stories at all. Like this one, all the money went to the the money always goes to charity. And so this one went to the Magnolia Youth Ensemble. It's they do a lot of Mardi Gras parades in Mobile, and it's a therapeutic youth band. So I'm not ever going to make a dime off anybody's story doing this, just because it's such a gift and it's not mine to make any money off of. And I get so many other rewards, but yeah. But it is, yeah.
The story you presented, it seemed like the people were approachable. Do you
Yes.
ever come up to somebody and they say, I don't want to talk to you? And have you ever learned anything in your discussions that you can't repeat?
So good question. So I am shocked how many people say, yeah, I don't know if I would say yes. Very rarely do people say no. So usually how it is, I'll walk up to somebody and say, hey, I've got a crazy question for you. And some reason that works. And I don't know if I have a crazy question, but that somehow opens the door. And we go from there, and we'll just start talking about what they're doing that day, what they're looking for. I'm learning I can ask harder questions of what keeps you up at night? What are you struggling with? And dig a little deeper. Very rarely, almost never do people say it's none of your business. But I think hopefully they trust me. And and I tell them the rules before. I show them what it is. They know what it is. They get to see the story first. They can tell me, off the record. They've got complete control of the story. By the time, they read it, they know everything in it. I've had one or two say no, they don't want to do it after they read it. Totally understand. Sometimes there's stuff we have to leave out. So if they're talking about somebody else, I leave that part out because that's not fair to the other person. I try to find a way to do that, but yeah. And there's been a couple of them I thought maybe they were not in their right mind, and so we just had a conversation and left it at that. But otherwise, yeah, I'm amazed that, but it worked in Cuba, like walking through Havana, I'll just walk around by myself. And sometimes I had a translator, but like I'd end up like eating spaghetti in somebody's house. And so people are very kind if you give them a chance to be. I've gone in tough neighborhoods, gone door to door, and, so I think sometimes people mirror what you put out, they mirror it back to you.
I totally identify with what you say about everybody having a story. When you were 2, I was my beginning years as a newspaper reporter. And as a starting reporter, I got to write a lot of obits. And I dreaded it. I couldn't, I was so fierce. I feared calling the family members of the person to get information to put in an obituary because it was a time of their grief and so forth. But what I quickly learned was that they couldn't wait to tell you about their loved one. And it didn't matter who they were or how humble their life had been, they had done something that you could pull out and make a little story about.
Right.
And so people do love to talk, and they will tell you things.
Yes. It's not hard to hit play and get people to talk. Where were you a reporter?
I was talking about then at the Birmingham News.
Yeah, back in the good old days. I miss those papers. Yeah. I think we were better off when we had good reporting and good newspapers in a big old newsroom. So, it's just try it. I dare you. So just go talk to a stranger or somebody and just don't try to interject. Don't say, yeah. I mean, just listen to them and see what it does to them. And then also what it does to you and the connection and how much you have to learn. And then my other little PSA that I always give doing these is your people. Go get the stories of your people right now, record them. Every one of you have a phone with a voice memo. I wish I'd done this with my mom before she got dementia, but we wear out my dad now. But the people around you, get their stories while you still got them and while they still got their memories, and save all the stories for your families. Yeah. PSAs? Yes. Oh, there's one back.
Excuse me. It sort of reminds me of one time when I went to Plains, Georgia. I heard President Jimmy Carter give a Sunday school lesson. And he said to the class, he said, there's just 2 people to love. And that's Jesus and the person standing in front of you.
Yeah. So, and I'm jealous because you got to go to Jimmy Carter's Sunday school class. We kept talking about that. So that's what the Jimmy Carter said. There's 2 important people, Jesus and the person standing in front of you. That's right. I was a road runner at Mississippi State. And one of my main lessons I learned at Mississippi State was that there's no one more important than the person in front of you. My parents paid a lot of money for that education right there. They're like, didn't you learn anything else? Like, yeah, that was it. But it's true. It's so easy to miss it. And I do this and I still miss it. I mean, we get in our heads or we think that person's not worth it or whatever. And it's just give them a chance to surprise you.
All right. Well, thank you again for an amazing program. And thank you all for coming out. Happy holidays, and we'll see you in the new year.